Hi there, happy Friday. Don't know why I'm saying happy Friday for. It's not actually raining at the minute, although the decking is very, very wet, so it must have been raining at some stage. And I have got the remnants of blue sky, but there are very dark black clouds heading this direction. I have finished my jacket using oddments. There we go. Oh, something sharp underneath my model, my Lady Jane. There she is. The pattern, as I said, I can't tell you exactly how it's done because it was a paid for pattern and it was by Jenny King, and it doesn't come as a pattern. It comes as a sort of a video or whatever you want to call it, but you have to pay for it. And you get a whole series of garments all made with this beginning. But if you're clever, you can work it out. It's just a circular neck, like with the you know, the armholes done like raglans. I did do this one slightly long actually for me, because so that's meant that the sleeves are a little bit on the wide side. I'll have to watch that. I always have this thing about being a lot bigger than I actually am. I know I've got a fat tummy, but that's something else. It's something to do with hernias and all that jazz. But I always seem to think I'm bigger than I am, yeah. So I make everything too big. Except for the last green cardigan, which I made a bit on the small side. And as you know, I was a bit debating about keeping it because it was 51% wool. Anyway, I've decided I'm not going to keep it. I'm not going to put it in my wardrobe and wear it every now and again and say, oh my goodness, this is itchy, why did I keep it? So, much as I like it, I'm reluctantly going to let it go. When the weather, oh excuse me, I've got an itchy nose. I've not got anything up here, I've just got an itchy nose. When the weather's nice enough to take photographs outside, because it's just not been nice and I'm getting a little bit fed up. As to what I'm wearing, well, thanks to Karen, a casualistic, when she did the video Everything a Fiver, I've sort of bought a few things from there. You know, you have to pay postage, of course, and I won't say that it's the best quality garments in the world, but I think they're rather nice for the, you know, the amount of money that I paid. I got the top and I got the black basic sweater. The beads, I think, came from Daniel, you know, Jackie O'Gorman's son. I'm sure, I think he sent me the beads. Or if he didn't, whoever sent them me, thank you very much. I know I didn't buy them, I know they were a gift. What have I been doing? Well, I've been spending my money, of course, as usual, not on yarn, just on other things. You know me, it burns a hole in my bank account and I don't even have any to burn. But I'm just a spendthrift, and I admit it. I'm uncontrollable shopaholic. Well, I'm one of them as well, shopaholic. I did go on to Annie's and I bought a pullover because I have upstairs some James C. Brett in the chunky, which I thought I could substitute for this yarn on this pattern, which is supposed to be, oh no, it's an English yarn. It's supposed to be King Cole Drifter Chunky Bulky, number 5 weight. But I've got a lot of the James C. Brett in the marble chunky, so that's what I'm going to be using that from. Christina said it looked rather open work on the sleeves, but I usually wear something, you know, like this underneath them, so it doesn't really bother me too much. This one's called the Port Orange pullover. Now I must confess that we both looked at it, Sue and I, and decided we might want to alter it slightly. Because if you look, the raglan doesn't go down the raglan, it goes sort of down the sleeves, which gives it a bit of a strange look. So I think if I did it or Sue did it, we might move the raglan shape in a bit, you know, so that it just goes under the armhole and sort of stops, and then we'll do jiggery pokery on the sleeves. But if you like it, I mean, they're all paid for patterns, these by Annie's, so they're not cheap ones. And this one, both myself and Kelly liked this one. It's called the Grapevine. It's an open work one, but it's got like a V front, hasn't it, like an asymmetrical, it's not asymmetrical, it's a point, isn't it? Asymmetrical is when it goes side to side. And this one's done in Omega Escarcha, whatever that may be. It's either going to be a double knit for me or an Aran weight, because it's on a 550 hook, which is a size I. And I forgot to tell you what this other one was in. This other one is in Kinko Drifter double knit, so I'm fine with that. And it's on a H hook, which is 5mm. Anyway, what else have I been doing? Well, I did look on Abercarn because they did have a sale, but I didn't get yarn. You know, I'm using up oddments, and I'm using oddments like in the cardigans, and I've got lots more that I can use in different colours for cardigans. I do like to do them tonal. I don't like them when they're just sort of bit of orange, bit of yellow, bit of green, you know, unless I deliberately mean to do that like paint box colours. I prefer to do them tonal, like all shades of green or shades of blue or shades of beige. That's the way I prefer to do them. But obviously if I'm doing them for my Etsy shop, then anything goes. Anyway, what did I buy from Abercarn, you might be asking yourselves. They do bundles, which you don't know what you're going to get. You just order it and you just get. I've had their dressmaking fabrics before, but they don't seem to have them at the minute. They've only got bundles of upholstery fabric, but that suits me fine because that will be more what I want. I also got a bundle of lace. I can't remember how much this is, but if you're in the UK you can look it up. I got a big bundle of this white lace. I'm not sure how much is in it, but there's a huge stack of it. And the rest of it will tie in with what I need the upholstery fabric for. These are actually supposed to be collars. I've got them in white. And I've got them in beige. I've got quite a few of them. But what I have in mind is something that I made quite a while ago. And if you look on my Urban Gypsy page, it's like at the header. It's in shades similar to these. And it's a granny stitch bag. But at the top it's trimmed with lace and flowers and all sorts of things. And it's lined, of course. So I don't know whether you can see this because I don't fancy taking every single one of them out. Let me just show you what it is. I got this assorted bundle. Again, you know, if you order yours, you wouldn't get the same as me. Oh, assorted bundle. All those, and it cost me, I don't know if it was $14.99 or $15.99 for all of these. And they're not little tiny pieces, they're big pieces. But obviously they're not big enough to make curtains or things like that with. But I want to use them as a bag liner. Because when you use dress fabric, it's very flimsy. And you know, if you put sharper things in your bag, they could punch you, couldn't they, ordinary fabric. I mean, I will just show you one piece of it, just to show you what you get. You get quite a lot of it, you know, there's quite a lot of fabric there. You know, it's a big print, but they're going to be liners. I mean, this is like a branded one. This is from, it's called Woodstock by Fairfield Mills. You know, they're not cheap fabrics. And they're very thick, you know, really nice. If I had any little windows, I could make some little curtains, but I don't have any little windows. That's by the by, isn't it? But, as I say, they're not to make garments with, they're to do linings with. I'll show you another one that I happen to like as well. This blue one, which would look lovely in shades of blue bag. You get quite a hefty piece. I mean, again, this is quite a decent fabric. This is, again, whose is it now? It doesn't say, does it? Oh, yes, it does. No, it says printed in the UK. It doesn't say whose it is. 100% cotton, which is very, very good. It's machine washable. So, you know, it's lovely, isn't it? So this is my next project to use up oddments. Believe me, I have. I bumped into a friend actually. You're watching, Pauline, hi. And her son was with her. And she introduced me to her son, and he said, "Oh, you're the lady who encourages my mother to buy more yarn." No, I don't, honestly. But apparently he was complaining because she got the equivalent of one small wall worth of yarn, and he thought that was rather excessive. But he had actually seen my video of my craft room, and he went, "You know, you're a whole hand up, you're far worse than my mum." So anyway, the reason, you know, like I'm far worse than anybody's mum. So this is the reason why I want to use up my oddments. Yes, I could give them away to make amigurumis and that, but I've got so many ideas buzzing in my head, like to use them, you know, for fingerless mitts, hats, bags, like I'm going to use the liners for bags, things like that. I've got quite a few ideas. So I need to get my sewing machine out of retirement. It's actually where I can get to it now, because I need to sew the seams up. I mean, the bags are actually lined, a lot of it by hand, because when you're sort of tacking the line into the bag itself, it needs to be flat like before you do the gather. I'll show you when I'm making them anyway. I'm not making a whole lot of sense, am I? So this is the cheap equivalent of a Red Bull. I never knew until I watched YouTube that the little tab thing on the top is meant to hold your straw. And I must admit it's a good idea, because I don't like drinking out of the can. And putting it in a glass seems rather too posh, you know. I'm not posh. I can assure you I am not posh. So, anyway, I've been to the doctor's. No, I didn't go to the doctor's, I'm telling a fib. I went to the nurse this morning. And she took my usual armful of blood out, you know, as they do. When you're diabetic, you get poked and prodded. And she was saying that, you know, I need to do things with my feet, because she took her ages to find the pulse in my feet, which, as you know, my feet are pretty dead. They're always freezing cold, even though I can't wear socks. And I've got lack of mobility, you know, they don't bend as they should. You know, I can't do that with my toes, I can only do that with my toes altogether. But that's nerve damage, so it's just something that nothing. I don't know what I'm mentioning it for, it's something and nothing, isn't it, you know. And yesterday I had to go to have my teeth seen to, and it was the usual lecture about you're not flossing enough, you're not doing this enough, you know, the usual. And she wanted to take another tooth out because it's loose and everything, and I'm like, I'm going to have nothing left to chew with in a bit, you know. Anyway, apparently because I'm diabetic, I can get referred down to the dental hospital. Which would be nice if I did, because I don't think I'm going to have to pay my private insurance then. If I get referred to the dental hospital, I think whatever treatment they do it on the NHS. Which would be £20 a month less, because that's what I have to pay for the insurance to get my teeth seen to. But apparently it's my gums. My gums have gone old and wobbly, you know. It's old age, isn't it? You know, when you get receding gums. I mean, what are you supposed to do apart from look like Charlie the Horse, you know? But I don't think I've got to the stage where I want them all taken out with a load of false teeth put in it. I don't want to be clip-clopping while I'm talking to you. I'd like to keep my own teeth as much as I can, although I'm lacking quite a few at the back now, because they keep getting beyond recall, and I've had crowns put on them and they've fallen off, and yeah, you know. Nobody likes the dentist, do they? Especially when they're poking and prodding with that pointy thing. I mean, I've always taken care of my teeth, you know, I've always brushed them regularly and, you know, used mouthwash and stuff like that, flossed them. So I dread to think what other people's teeth are like if they don't do any of these things. They must be hanging on by a thread. But I do think a lot of it's genetics, because like my mum lost her teeth when, I think just after I was born. They all started dropping out. She finished up with false ones. And my dad's teeth were a bit wonky as well. They kept dropping out, and he brushed his teeth regular. So I do think it's genetics. Although my brother, bless his soul, he had beautiful teeth. I think he only had about 2 fillings in the whole of his life. He had absolutely beautiful teeth. So there's no excuse for me. Except my mother blamed it on the war. Because when she was pregnant with me, she couldn't get the fresh fruit and produce and things like that that she'd managed to get when she was carrying my brother. Because my brother's like, well, he was almost 9 years older than me, 8 years older than me, something like that. And it was before the war he was born, so she had access to lots of fresh fruit, vegetables and things like that. Whereas I was conceived during the war and born just about as the war ended. But everything was still on ration. If you were in the UK, you understand. We had ration books for everything. You know, the amount of meat and the amount of butter and everything that you could get. I mean, the mind boggles. I mean, I've watched programmes on the TV where they're cooking with what the ration was like for a family, you know, a 4 kind of thing. And how much little of everything that they got, you know. It was kind of, if you grew your own veg, it was veg potato soup, or it was just potato soup. It was just, everything was just, you know, hard done by. I mean, we were fortunate just after the war that my granddad, I think I've mentioned this before, used to grow things like cabbage and rhubarb and the rudimentary things. And any excess he used to have, he used to give to my mum, because my mum did the laundry for them. So it wasn't that she was like singled out to have more than her brothers and their sisters, but it was my granddad's way of, you know, like paying my mum, if you know what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong, my mother would have washed all the iron and ironed everything for free. She was that kind of person. But my granddad used to show his appreciation by giving us rhubarb or cabbage or eggs if he had any spare eggs left over. So we did a little bit better than some people did during the war. And my dad was allowed to bring home things that didn't sell, because a lot of people wouldn't buy tongue, you know, cows. I'm sorry if you're a vegetarian, but cow's tongue and things like that. You didn't have the, how can I put it, the wherewithal to be vegetarian, I don't think, during the war or just after. You ate what was available and you were darn glad of it. If you were vegetarian, you would have had to have a greenhouse and grow your own stuff, because there wasn't that much stuff available, unless you lived off cabbages and potatoes. Yeah, so my mum always managed to make a hearty meal out of something. She was very good at stretching a bit of meat, you know, we had cheese and onion pie when we had some cheese, you know, things like that. And you know, I was lucky my aunties didn't take sugar in their drinks, and they didn't do a lot of baking, so they used to give my mum their ration of sugar, which went towards making, I mean, don't get me wrong, my mother would give them slices of cake, you know, in return and stuff. And also dried fruit was at a premium, so, you know, if you had a fruit cake, it was like, this is a sponge cake, and oh look, there's a raisin, there's a currant, there's a sultana. You know, because things were, as I say, things were on a ration. I don't think I ever had as much custard in my life as when I was little, because my mother used to manage to cobble up some homemade custard that went with, if your cake had gone a bit stale, you know, she would revive it with a bit of custard and make it into a pudding, you know. And then we used to have bread pudding. I don't know whether you've got it in the US. She would cut up like stale bread and soak it in milk, and then put maybe a bit of dried fruit in it as well, and cook it up. It's sort of a bit like bread and butter pudding, you know, we used to eat that as well. There was always something on the table, you know. I mean, I used to think our meals were quite good when I was little. You know, I never went without food like some poor people did. But I put that down to Mum. She was brought up economical because she was one of 16 children. And they had a little bit of a, they didn't have a farm, but they had a farmhouse. And they had a tiny little bit of land left that was no use to the farmer, because it went down to the stream at the bottom. So my granddad did all his gardening on a hill that went like that. He was a forerunner, I think, of terraces. You know, everything was perched. I mean, how he managed to get the henpen. It was like on stilts at one side, you know, perched on the hillside on the other. because you had to shut the hens up at night because of the foxes. And as I say, we live next to, well, they live next to a farm that had milking cows, so they were never short of milk and things like that. I do love watching these TV programmes where these wonderful cooks who cook things like they did in the war, you know. And I often wonder how on earth they did it. And I think that's where carrot cake was born, really, because there was no ingredients for your cake, so you put carrots in your cake, you know. Because everything was rationed. Everything was rationed. I don't think in the US you ever had this problem. You know, the meat, the butter, everything you kind of ate was rationed. Fruit wasn't rationed as far as I know, but you couldn't get it because it wasn't in the shops. It was like, wow, they've got some whatevers in the shop, and everybody rushed down and you were allowed like one apple or one. I don't think there was bananas, I think, because I remember seeing my first banana when I was younger and thinking, what on earth is this? And my mother presented me with an orange, like it was like, whoa, look at this orange, you know, it's an orange, you know. Normally we got apples from the trees and that, you know, full of bug holes and everything. Well, they were the forerunners of organic apples. And we did get a lot of apples and custard and apple pie. Rhubarb pie, because Grandad grew rhubarb. We had a lot of things like that. I should take more. You know, you don't take notice of what your mother cooks when you're little. You just eat it, don't you? And then you sort of have these dim recollections as you grow old of having these meat puddings and meat whatever, meat potato pies that were mostly potato, with a bit of meat thrown in for interest, you know, with a bit of onion thrown in as well. And the meat sprinkled over the top, like, you know. It should have been called potato, onion and meat pie, but they were good. They were good. I don't know what she did, but they were good. My mother made a really tasty pie. I've never been able to master pastry, never. It always looks like dirty Play-Doh, even though I wash my hands and everything's washed. I don't know what I do to it, but it always looks like grey Play-Doh when I'm done with it. And it's like a brick, basically. The only time we get a decent pie, or we did get a decent pie in this house, was when I bought it and you frozen and you just rolled it out. That was the only time anybody got anything decent to eat. I've never been a pastry maker. And yet my hands are very cold, and they usually say if you've got cold hands, you can make great pastry. But cakes, I could make a mean cake. I was tip-top with my cakes. I don't make them now, of course, because I'm diabetic and there's only me here to eat them. But I used to make cakes all the time and put them in the freezer and, you know, drag them out and just put the jam and the buttercream on afterwards. There was always cakes in my freezer, always. And I just got out of the habit. But like I say, I would eat the whole cake. It's all right saying cut it into portions and put it in the freezer. No. If it was there, I would eat it because I love homemade cake. Absolutely adore homemade cake. Just even plain sponge, you know, the Victoria sponge or whatever. I love homemade cake. Not too mad about chocolate cake, although I used to have to make it because the rest of the family loved it. You know, I used to decorate it all with the buttons, you know, chocolate buttons all around the top and make it all fancy. Because if I just made a chocolate cake, and Ariane used to say, where's all the fancy bits, where's all the buttons, you know. I think he liked the buttons bit better than the cake, but that's by the by, isn't it? And we were talking the other day, Christina and I, about making, when we used to make our own Christmas cakes. Everybody loved my Christmas cake because I used to feed the fruit, you know, then I would feed the cake, you know, with alcohol and stuff like that. You could get drunk, you know, breathalyzed on the way home from a slice of my cake. But all those are things in the past, because being diabetic, I'm not supposed to have things like that. I'm going to the pharmacist next week, and for the next 2 weeks after that. They're holding a sort of get to know your diabetes type class. I'm going along because there are lots and lots of things I don't know about my diabetes. when I was diagnosed, I just got this long list of what I couldn't eat. And I came out of there thinking, well, I might as well just give up now, you know, because you've just took away my whole menu. What's left? So it would be nice to be told what I can eat for a change. I mean, I've bought recipe books off Amazon and places like that, but they're always too complex for me. I like simple meals. I don't like faffing about with marinating this and doing that, and I'm just not that kind of a cook. I mean, at the moment I've got chicken in the slow cooker. It's just chicken breasts, and I bought everything else that goes with it, the veggies and that, all chopped up, and put them all in. And I got a stock cube thing, you know, those proper stock gravy cubes, not the little oxos, you know, the jelly type stock cubes. Put one of them in and everything. And I haven't put salt and pepper in it because I wanted to see what herbs and stuff were in this stock pot before. I can always taste it when it's almost cooked and season it then, you know, and adjust it. But that's the kind of cooking that I do now, you know. I don't do any, well, I can't at the moment stand there chopping things because it kills me back. And my kitchen is not meant for sitting down, because I'd have to sit down sideways because there's nowhere where I can put my legs underneath a table or underneath a worktop. And I refuse to peel and chop carrots in the front room, you know, sitting in my chair with a table in front of me. Somehow that would not seem right or hygienic or whatever. I prefer to be in my kitchen. Anyway, I think that's what I've got to say to you. I'm still thinking up designs, you know, to use up my oddments like this. I am thinking of making some for Etsy, but they won't be in purples because I'm using up my purple oddments for moi. I may have oddments of other shades. I've got to go and venture into the cold garage and have a look, because I really do need to sort that garage out. But it's been so cold, and it's freezing cold in my garage because the door doesn't fit properly. It blows a gale in, and everything's stacked in those stacker boxes, you know, up to the ceiling and that. They're in colours, so it's not too bad, you know. My greens are in one, my blues are in another. It's not just a hodgepodge of everything. I don't bother with plies and things like that. I just stack colours, you know, colours. Although I do have one box with very fine stuff in, but they're all little oddments as well. I'll have to find something else to do with those because I'm not making a big cardigan with that, because it's like 2-ply, 3-ply, very fine. And that's about what I can think I'm going to do. This Love Other People on YouTube has really taken off, and I'm so pleased for people that have got extra people, you know, to view them. All I can say is, if you look at other people and you see somebody's got a video that says shout out on it, do have a look at it. And if you look in my comments, there's 1 or 2 people who've left comments with a link, you know, saying, you know, please include this in your shout outs and that. Well, I've done my shout out. So if you go back and look at my comments and that, you'll see 1 or 2 people there. I will take a look at them, and if they're of interest to me, I will support them. But as I said before, I'm really a crochet person, and I know it sounds nasty, but I'm not into other things, you know, so it's not something that I would subscribe to. But other people are interested in other things, which is why I want you to look at them. You may be interested in painting, ceramics, embroidery, patchwork, things like that. I have a hard enough time watching my crochet videos, you know, to subscribe to. Even though I absolutely adore patchwork quilting and things like that, it's just not in my repertoire, you know, to actually subscribe to them and watch them on a long-term basis. So this is why I'm saying, look around. I've put some people who've put videos up. I've just seen another one done today. I'm just trying to work out who it was that did it. Can't remember. If I remember, I'll let you know. But do keep your eyes open. Look for shout outs. Look for, I think there's a hashtag. Is it small crafters or something? Look round. Still carry on. It's still an ongoing thing. It's not just going to go away because we did it all for a week or a month or whatever. It does help the smaller crafters to feel recognised, you know. I mean, Blue Cherub 82, she actually had the right number of subscribers, but she didn't have the right number of views. And because everybody's like contributed, mentioned each other and that, she's now got them. So it can be done. So don't be discouraged if you're a smaller crafter. and you haven't got the percentage of people and that. All I will say is network, you know. Just network yourself. If you haven't got a Facebook page, make one and say, have you looked at my videos, and put your video up, you know. I mean, it's wrong. I think it's wrong, and I don't like when people say, I will subscribe to you if you subscribe to me. I don't like that at all. All I would say is look at videos. If you like them, subscribe to them. If it's not what you're interested in, then don't subscribe to them, you know. It's not you pat my back and I'll pat yours. It's not that situation, as far as I'm concerned anyway. I subscribe to people I'm interested in. But that doesn't say I wouldn't mention them to another person who I know is interested in, like you said, quilting. I would say, this lady quilts beautifully. Have you seen her? Because I know that the other person quilts. But as I say, I personally wouldn't subscribe to that. I know it sounds mean and horrible and everything, but I've got my subscribers that I subscribe to and I view on a regular basis is yay long, you know. Goes into the hundreds of people that I subscribe to anyway. And so I'm not really looking for anybody to add to my subscription list unless they are, you know, new to me and I like them. Which, due to all this campaign, I have found several people that I had never seen before. And I like them. And I've subscribed to them. So, it does work. Pass the word around. It's brilliant. Love one another. Whatever. Peace and love. We're all crafty. And as I always say, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say anything. Yeah? It's very discouraging. A lot of people who are making videos, they're new to it, they don't know, they're very nervous, they may not be particularly proficient, but they're learning and they're trying and they're doing their best. And the last thing they want is some negative comment from somebody saying, oh, that doesn't look very nice, or that looks like an amateur, you know, looks like a beginner's made that. Yes, a beginner has made it, so don't knock it, you know. Just encourage people. That's all we need in this life. And if you really hate it, don't say anything. You know, just skip by. It's just don't give false, you know, don't say, I really love this, I really think this is wonderful and all that, if you don't. Because that's not being true to yourself, is it, you know? And I think about my soapbox long enough, don't you? I think it's time I went. I'm trying to tidy up because I've got my furry granddaughter coming for a couple of days. Because my son and daughter-in-law have got things to do. And she would be sort of, well, not neglected, I can't say neglected, she's never neglected. But she would be on her own, let's just say, when she could be with me and have the access to the garden and, you know, potter about and do what she wants to do. So I'm looking after her for a couple of days. So you may or may not see her, it depends when she arrives and it depends when she goes, doesn't it? It's how long is a piece of string. So you may see our lovely Poppy, that you may have remembered from my other videos. She's the sweetest little thing, well, she's not little, she's a big thing. But she's the sweetest dog ever and I absolutely adore her. And the thing is, if Gigi comes at the same time, he loves her to bits. So they play together wonderful, so it'll be nice if I get them both or if I don't get them both. If I get one and then I get the other, but it does mean I should have an animal at some stage next week. Which is great, because I do miss my Buster, as you know. Poor thing, he's remembered every day. And you all know, the ones of you who've lost dearly beloved pets, you do miss them. They are part of the family, they are a human in our eyes. They're a daughter, a son that, you know, we haven't got anymore. And I mean, I can't get attached to anything other, you know, like fish and things like that, but I am very attached to any cat I've had or any dog I've had. And I do miss them when they're not here. Like, for example, this weekend I won't have anybody, you know. That's a time when I think, maybe I should get a cat or something, you know. But then the mood passes over because Gigi arrives and I just pat him and love him and cuddle him, and I think, no, I don't need a cat. I've got Gigi. We had a lovely time yesterday. We just had a lovely cuddle time. It was great. Anyway, I'm going to go off now and I'm going to do my crochet. I'm thinking of what I was going to start next, and then I will show you. I'm not sure who's coming when. Kelly was supposed to come yesterday, but unfortunately Jamal got taken ill and he was sick everywhere, so he was off school. And I just had a message from her today saying that he passed it on to her now, so she's suffering as well today. So Kelly, if you're watching, get well soon, and Jamal, get well soon. So I don't know when Sue's coming, if Sue's coming, no idea. I never know, and that's the best thing, because when people drop in unexpectedly, you know, it makes it nice, doesn't it? The only time they can't come is next Wednesday, because I'm going to that meeting, you know, for the diabetes thing. And I'm going in the morning, so that rules out most people. But as long as I tell them in advance, don't come Wednesday, we're fine. So, if you're visiting, don't come Wednesday, because I won't be here. But I may have my furry little friend standing guard, whichever one of them it is. They're very, very good guard dogs. Gigi would probably nip you. Poppy could give you a bite if you were a stranger and you broke in. She would show her other side. As I say, she's the softest thing ever, but if there was a burglar around, she would show her other side. Apparently somebody tried to get in the back garden at our Ian's and she just, you know, whoa, lock your dog up. Our Ian said, well, you shouldn't come in the garden without telling me, you know. She's doing her duty, she's just guarding. So she is a good guard dog. But having said that, I'm looking forward to a big cuddle. And on that note, I'm going to make myself a drink because this is running out now. This is my equivalent of a Red Bull. It's called a Red Thunder. Not sure what the Thunder bit is. It's just the same colour can and everything. It is Red Bull. But it was one from one of the cheaper stores. So I'm going to go, maybe put my coat on and go and look in the garage to maybe find some more colours in a different range of colours. See what I've got the most of in oddments and things. Some of these were full balls actually, but they were just single balls. And I didn't do them in any particular order. They're just as they came, you know. I just went, oh yeah, that's a nice colour. Oh, that's a nice colour, I'll have that. Haphazard is the word. Right, I'm going to go now because I've probably bored you long enough now with my twittering about me wartime days and everything. I put these videos on thinking I have no idea what I'm going to tell anybody today. So it is really just off the top of my head. I'm not scripted, as you probably gathered. I have a rough idea what things I'm going to show you, and then after that it's potluck. So I hope you like my potluck rambling. I should be called Jan's Ramblings, not Randy's oh, I can't ever say that, Randy, I'm so sorry. Randy's Random Ramblings. It's all alliteration, isn't it? I can't get my tongue around that. Mine should be called Jan's Waffles. Because I do waffle. If you've been watching me for long enough, you know how much I waffle. And Sue, when she comes, she's my comrade in arms. She's another waffler. We love to waffle. Hopefully she'll be coming next week, although I'm not too sure. But I will make a video if she doesn't come, and if I do get Poppy one day, I will show you my lovely Poppy, because she is worthy of some love. And after that, I'm going to go now, so bye all. Have a nice weekend. Bye.